What's up guys, and welcome to today's video where we talk about scaling your Google Ads. So as soon as you spend like several $100s per day and beyond, things really change. And while we talk a lot about like launching new campaigns and testing and how to start on this channel, this video is really dedicated to the next step, what you should do when you're really trying to go to the next level. So without further ado, let's get started and talk about how you can really take your campaigns to a new level and what the strategy looks like when you're spending more and more money. So let me make myself a little bit smaller over here and start with something that I call the scaling pyramid, right? Probably I have to make myself a little bit smaller even, yeah. So let's start talking about the scaling pyramid. There are three general sort of phases when it comes to scaling, of course, with a lot of details and a lot of additional things. But the first step should be scaling to other countries, if possible, of course, right? So if you have a product or a supplier that can ship to other countries as well, like you normally sell to the US and now you also include like UK, Canada, and Australia, for example, you should really do that first, because the rules of the game don't really change necessarily completely in those other similar countries, right? US, UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, they are pretty similar, and chances are if you sell successfully in one country, you will probably also sell successfully in some of the other countries. So this should be the first step, because you can do more of the same. Then we enter the second step, and this is scaling with new campaign types. Here you try new things, right? So it's inevitably harder. Let's say you have only been doing shopping ads before, now you're also including search ads in the mix, or now you are also adding other campaign types. And that's something we talk about in a second as well. And then sort of the pinnacle here really is scaling through excellent ads, as I called it here in this example, where you have to master it, right? So any campaign type, any campaign, any Google ad strategy can technically be scaled if you are really doing the right things and you know how to do it properly. Let's say if you are a beginner, you might still get to $50,000 a month or $100,000 a month, right? This could be possible, but at some point there is a ceiling, there is something where you really need to sort of step up your game, where you really need to know Google Ads inside out and know exactly what you're doing and some of the hidden strategies and things that you can do with it to really scale to the next level. This is probably the hardest, right? Because you cannot just learn it just like that, but there is like a really big extra level of scale at this point. But even just the first two steps here, they can take you very far. So let's talk about the different campaign types for scaling, right? First of all, very straightforward, we have Google Shopping, of course. And let's say when you want to scale, like when you're spending a few $100 per day already, chances are that your market share with shopping is between 40 to 80% in many cases already. And it's very difficult to scale beyond that, right? So the difficulty is high. It is absolutely possible. We're running shopping ad campaigns, several $1,000s per day in ad spend, very well, but it's generally more difficult to squeeze out those extra percents. And the required budget, though, to scale is fairly low, right? You can do more of the same. Yes, it gets more expensive. Yes, it gets more difficult, but generally you can do more of the same, and adding higher budgets and everything to shopping is not necessarily super expensive, really. The second step then, or the second campaign type, is search. And most of the time when I work with businesses and they're in the scaling phase, their sort of market share with search is still only at like 10-20%. Now, search is where it gets tricky, because here's what you need to do with search. First of all, you have, of course, the highly product-related search queries, right? So people are specifically searching for your product that you're selling or for a very specific thing. Those are the ones that are already difficult enough to make profitable. But then when you really want to scale, you have to also convert like not so clear, or you have to convert search queries that aren't as close to the sale, right? So if I'm looking for a, let's say I'm looking for a cosmetics product and I'm looking for, let's say, acne cream, right? As an example, lots of people sell that. Of course, if I'm looking specifically for that product, that is generally easier to convert than if I'm looking for the symptoms of that, right? Like if I'm looking for symptoms and how to clean my skin and what can I do if I have bad skin and so on and so forth. These are indirect search queries that can still result in sales, but they need some more, you have to convince those people better. Your landing page has to really be on point. You have to probably follow up with them on remarketing, but then search can be huge. And we have cases where there is like a single search campaign producing decent 6 figures per month in sales because it does all these things. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, it probably sounds easier than it is in the end, but search is a huge market for almost any niche, almost any business out there can potentially scale quite a bit using search. The difficulty all in all is probably less than if you try to maximize your shopping ads to the highest level, right? Because there it gets pretty complex with, product optimization, feed optimization, bidding, negatives, and it can get quite complex. Generally scaling search when they're just in the beginning is easier. The budget is higher because you test more things, you try more things, of course, but that's like the second campaign type. Now we're entering 2 more, and here it gets really interesting as well. Discovery. That's something that almost no one is using actively. And don't get me wrong, it's difficult and it doesn't work for everyone. So most of the clients that come to me, the market share, I take that from the people that come to me and use them as reference, right? Most of the people come to me 0.10%, 0 to 10%. Like the majority probably never used discovery, or at least not profitably in any way. Very few tested them at all. The majority of them, never used it. So 0.10%. Here the difficulty is really high and the required budget is really high. The thing with discovery is you need to give it a dedicated budget and have to go with it. You cannot just test the waters for a week with $20 a day. You need to say, you know what? I'm spending $200 a day for 2 weeks straight, no matter what happens, and that's how I give it a really, good try. That's what you need to do with discovery if you want to really do it. And then, of course, it depends on your audiences, on your products, on your ads very, very much, on your targeting in general, on your optimization. These things all play into discovery, but then they can work extremely well too, especially if you have visual products, especially if you have products that aren't like super expensive. The best discovery campaign that I'm running right now sells products for about $80 to $100, right? And this works very, very well. We're talking 4-figure spend here per day as well. But it doesn't work that well for crazily expensive items. And if you have very, very cheap items like $10, $20, it can still work very well because of impulse decisions. But you have to really keep an eye on your cost and your ROAS, because discovery, of course, tends to have a lower conversion rate. And you have to really make sure that the numbers work here for you in the end. And then we have YouTube. And here, typically the market share is like 0. Like very, very few people have successful YouTube campaigns for e-commerce. And let me tell you, many people out there try to make it or try to really portray YouTube as this next big thing for any e-commerce business, but that's not the truth, right? Like I have spent so much money on YouTube ads for e-commerce, and I have done it with so many businesses, and I can tell you that it is definitely not easy, and discovery is even better than YouTube. So everyone who tells you like, hey, try YouTube, Facebook ads are too difficult, now you should give YouTube a try, that's the next big thing, it's like this easy money over there, that's just not true. I can guarantee that if you have an e-commerce business, YouTube ads are definitely the most difficult to make work out of those 4 here, for sure, and they are not for everyone, and you don't miss out if you're not using them yet. That's, all good. Yes, they can work extremely well if you have a product that is, exciting, if you have a product that is novel, if you have the capacity or the budget to create some really nice ads, but else don't bother. Don't try it yet. Give those other things a try first. You are not missing out, at least not at this point in time. Let's talk about retargeting, the retargeting funnel, because with higher budgets, you get more traffic, and with more traffic, you need to do more in-depth retargeting for maximum performance, right? So if you only spend like $20 a day, 30, 50, even up to 100 probably, you can really retarget everyone the same way. But as soon as you're scaling, you can really make a lot of extra money from proper retargeting. Like I'm talking about 20K per month extra, 50K per month extra, right? If you do it very, very well. So as an example, let's say you have people that visit your store for the first time, and in order to retarget, you bid 30 cents for those people. You put them in an audience, for example, using analytics. You say, hey, people who visited my store once should be in that audience here. I bid 30 cents to get them back to my page, right? So CPC bid. Then second time visit or returning visit, you bid 50 cents now because they are undeniably more valuable than the people visiting for the first time because they came back to you. There must be a reason for that, right? So separate ad group for those people. Then you have add to carts, and that's where things really get exciting because those people decided that they are generally interested in your products. Of course, many people use the cart as like a reminder. They don't click the add to cart button because they're super interested to buy something right now, but add to cart definitely signals some level of buying intent. And here you can go, for example, with a 75-cent bid. And then we have the checkouts. And often I combine checkouts and add to carts. I don't really distinguish between the two most of the time, to be honest. But if you have a lot of traffic, like let's say you actually have thousands and thousands of checkouts per month, right? Like all the time, then you can even further segment the two. Because you have to think about it that way. Those 4 touch points, of course, there are technically many more. You can come up with like 100 different stages here. But those 4 really differ in value to your business a lot. A first-time visit, of course, is 10 times less valuable than a checkout in this case. We don't bid 10 times the amount, but we reflect that by bidding $1 versus 30 cents. And guys, those are not absolute numbers, of course. They are just relative in some way, right? You may bid $2 for a checkout. You may bid 10 cents for a first-time visit. That might both be the case. The point is, use those different retargeting audiences, retargeting stages. Then in a second step, you can even combine them with discounts. You can give someone who is a checkout visit a discount like, hey, save another 5%. Now you probably get them, right? Now you probably close the deal. Or same with add to carts. Or a second time visit, you can tell them, hey, you know what? We give you free shipping this week or something along those lines. If you don't have free shipping already, you can get extremely creative here. We are running some retargeting funnels with so many different options and things that we're doing, pop-ups specifically for those people. You can do a lot there if you have the traffic to support that. And that's really important. Don't overcomplicate things too early. If you spend $50 a month, $50 a month, yeah, then for sure. But if you spend $50 a day even, don't bother about this, in my opinion. Maybe differentiate between add to carts and first time visit, but that's really it. And then you have the sale, ideally. If you do those things correctly, that's of course the next step. And the closer they are to this little flag here, the more likely they are going to convert and the more you should spend to get them back to your store. Now, I have a few more important points when really scaling and when spending more. First of all, don't expect linear scaling. Most of the time you will see diminishing returns, and that's why the ROAS is key. A lot of people think that if you make 50K per month at a 4x ROAS, you will also do 100K per month at a 4x ROAS, or maybe a 3.8 or something. In reality, when you scale, almost all the time your returns will diminish. Right? So if you go from 100K with 5x ROAS, you might do only 4x ROAS on a 200K account. Of course, the numbers still have to make sense here. It doesn't help you to triple your volume, but you're almost unprofitable. That doesn't make any sense. So focus on ROAS first. Super important to have the most profitable campaign possible, because when you scale, it will most likely suffer. Sometimes the opposite is the case, right? Sometimes with more volume comes more profitability. But usually when you really scale aggressively, I'm talking like medium to high 6 figures, you will really see the profits diminish at some point. So be prepared for that and don't think, eventually at some point when I'm at 300K, then my campaigns will be profitable. That doesn't work usually. Also, always go from lowest to highest hanging fruit, right? Don't skip one of those steps. Don't go straight to discovery. Don't go straight to YouTube if you didn't try search before. Don't go straight to search if you didn't run some really, really in-depth shopping campaigns. You need to go by the stages, essentially like the ones you saw on the table. These are pretty much the stages that I also really recommend. Don't neglect your online store. I talk about it all the time on this channel. If you send people to your store with Google Ads, sure, Google Ads are tremendously important, but you also need to make sure that your store is optimized. And it's something that I started doing more and more and more with my clients. I'm really diving into their stores and helping them optimize, because I usually see that there is a lot of potential to do that. It's not only the ads. When you scale, always think about how you can squeeze out more conversion rates from your store. Plan time for the results to settle in. It's not like I increased the budget, I create a few campaigns, now I'm scaling. Google is slower than Facebook, but it's also more consistent, and that's a very good thing, right? You don't want to scale from 0 to a million. Well, if you can, probably yes, but you don't want to scale super quickly and then lose all of that again in 2 weeks, right? Slow but steady, and then you have campaigns that are doing 300-400K per month every single month for potentially a year or two or even more. It's a marathon and not a sprint, but being consistent usually is better than having a ton of sales volume quickly and then losing everything again. Build a massive negative keyword list. When you scale, negatives become super important, and when you have this massive negative keyword list with like potentially thousands and thousands of terms, everything will get better, every campaign will perform better, and your entire account will be in much better shape. Maintain ad quality at scale is key. A lot of people, when they have more campaigns, more ads, more everything, at some point they start to simplify. And in some cases, it's okay if you have really like so many products, so many campaigns that you have to sort of generalize in some way, but usually try to maintain maximum ad quality even at scale. You might not have the time for that, you might not have the knowledge or the skill or anything for that really, but you should try to do it. And if you cannot do it, right, if that's not possible for you, then seek help if you hit a roadblock. Like if you cannot scale while maintaining high quality, or if you cannot scale in the first place, or maybe things are too competitive in your space, right? It feels like you hit this invisible ceiling. You cannot get past 50K a month for some reason. You cannot get past 2x ROAS for some reason. Then seek help, but try it yourself first. At least if you have a somewhat limited budget, right? I don't recommend people to immediately seek help, to immediately go to someone like me to do it for you or with you. But if you really did those things, or if you just don't have the time to do it, then seek help. And in that case, this is sort of the last part of this video. Of course, you can reach out to me using the link that you see here below at marcorodriguez.co. You see here a screenshot of the new page with the Google and Shopify partner badge as well. You can read a lot of things about me there, case studies, clients, services, all that stuff is just here on this image. And if you did all the things here and some of the other things that I mentioned on my YouTube channel, of course, you tried it, you really tried to make it work and to scale, and it still doesn't work, then you can contact me, then message me, and we will find a way to help you either take your store to the next level sales-wise or profit-wise or both, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you have some new insight now, especially sort of in regards to which steps you should take, which campaign should come first, etc. But if you enjoyed this video, if it helped, then please leave a like here below, and also subscribe if you want to see more Google Ads and e-commerce content that helps you take your store to the next level. So with this being said, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe we'll speaking soon about how I could help you take your store to new heights. So thanks a lot for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.